You are watching Limited Resources Draft Series on MTGO Academy featuring Marshall Sutcliffe.
Hey guys, Marshall here from Limited Resources doing some cube draft, and we've opened a pretty good pack here. Well, we have a sword, which is probably the pick out of this pack. Now the swords aren't ridiculous, but they're quite strong. They go really in any deck almost, and they can do some work. Sword of War and Peace is a pretty strong sword. It's not the strongest. I think the blue-green sword is probably the best, but this one's pretty good. There's some other reasonable cards here. There's some ramp targets with Elish Norn, Woodfall, Primus. There's some value, and Iona. There's some value cards like Baneslayer Angel. I love Tradewind Rider. I like Tooth and Nail, Wooded Foothills. Orb can do stuff. This is overall a very solid pack, but I'm just going to take the colorless option here and kind of see where the winds take us. It looks like they've taken us to another colorless option, and this seems perfectly fine to me. I like going Skullclamp into Sword of War and Peace. It means any Stoneforge Mystics that we see immediately become much, much better. And we're still open. I mean, we can go any color we want here. We could be some type of token deck in black, in white with, any other color. We could be green with elves and such, where we kind of power out a bunch of small creatures. Here's some good options. Two of my favorite cards in the cube, Awakening Zone and Venser Shaper Savant. I'm going to take Venser this time. I think that these are fairly close on power level, and Skullclamp with Awakening Zone is definitely insane, but I think that Venser is just really good, and I take it as a little bit of a signal, not a big signal, but a little bit of a signal that blue might be creeping the door towards openness, and if that's the case, that's definitely where we want to be. Okay, another interesting pack for us. Another blue card. Oh, you bet you can. I love Australians. So we got Kira, which is a really nice blue card. A little bit of a non-bow with these, but probably still workable. A few good white cards floating around here with Kitchen Finks and Blade Splicer. I really have been impressed by Blade Splicer in the cube, way more than I thought. But I'm going to keep it simple and just stay in blue for this beginning part. And we'll kind of branch out as the cards dictate so. I'm going to take Maze of Ith here. I think Maze of Ith is quite good. Also, it's pretty good against us. Like, Maze of Ith really hoses the equipment plan pretty well. And, yeah, so I think this is fine. Yeah, so the way... let's take a look at our pack. All right. Literal favorite Magic card of all time, Mana War. Indrik Stomphowler is pretty good. Diagraph Ghoul is pretty good. I mean, I like it a lot more than most, but yeah, I'm not passing Mana War. What I was going to say, though, is the way Kira works is the first time he gets targeted, any of your creatures get targeted by a spell or ability, you counter that spell or ability. So what happens is you go Skullclamp on my whatever, it gets countered, and then you have to pay another mana to put it on again. Not that big of a deal with Skullclamp. It is a little bit more of an issue with Sword of War and Peace. But, you do what you do. I mean, it's not... To me, like I think sometimes people overreact to a negative effect like that, where they're like, well, I've got two pieces of equipment. I can't take Kira, even though it's like the only good blue card, and it's a very good blue card. I don't agree with that. I think that, you can play around it. There's times when you just you'll just have these two things and not Kira. There's times when you have Kira and not these two things. You just get to sort of set it up yourself. So I just don't really buy the idea that, that you just shouldn't make that pick or whatever. This pack's pretty crappy. Let's just be honest. There's not a ton going on here. I think I'm actually going to take Savannah Lions out of this pack. I guess I could take Fertile Ground. I'll take a Fertile Ground, but this is not the kind of card that we want to be taking. Troll Ascetic is not a card I really like, but this might actually be the deck for it. Either that or Tracker. Tracker can do work if we do end up being in green. But Troll Ascetic with equipment is pretty tough to deal with. I'll take the Ascetic. Look at him. Okay, here's the pack we opened. We got the Tradewind Rider back. I'm happy to get that. God, if we can get this Awakening Zone one time, that would be pretty nice. I can't lie. Can't remember what pack it was in, but I don't think it was this one. I'm going to take Palmcron. Whether it makes the deck or not is yet to be seen. I mean, it kind of is a value 7, but not really. Sure, Delver, I guess. All right, so we did not get there. Is that what you're telling me? Bummer. Okay, we'll take Call of the Herd. All right, not a lot going on here. We'll just take the most powerful card. All right, so our deck's... it's got some issues. It's a little... it's not exactly the most laser-focused deck I've ever seen, but it does have a plan. It's got some amount of messing with your stuff, Tradewind Rider and Venser, and then it just has some sort of value creatures that we get to play, and then it's got 2 powerful equipment. So... for now, it's going to have to do. Hopefully we can improve things a bit here, though. Let's see what we get. All right, tough decisions immediately. So, a few things that jump out. First thing is Duraga Tree Speaker is a card that we're pretty interested in. It's a cheap 1-drop that just powers out a ton of mana and does a great job at it. But there's also a Trinket Mage in this pack. And a Trinket Mage can get Skull Clamp, and that's definitely value. You know, Trinket Maging into something as powerful as Skull Clamp is really, really good. But I think I'm actually just going to take Tree Speaker here because it's a harder role to fill, and the chances of wheeling Trinket Mage are much higher. Basically, if we get Essence Scatter, Trinket Mage, or Thieving Magpie back out of this pack, we're going to be happy no matter what. And this is a much harder to replace effect. So I'm going to take that. You kidding? I'm slamming Jitte. I'm pretty surprised it got passed to us. It's one of the best cards in the cube, period. Not best equipment, best cards in the cube. And I am stoked to have it, to be honest. And that's just a great pickup. I want to get as many cheap creatures as possible now. I mean, just, you know, powering out Skull Clamps, Jittes, and Sword of War and Pieces early in the game is a big deal. And making our opponent do something that early is really powerful. Mana Elves are absolutely ideal for that plan, as they let you have enough mana early to get the equipment cast and equip to get around counter spells and a lot of removal, and then they give you a body to attach the equipment to as well. I mean, you know how these things go. Like, once you get counters on Jitte, it just gets worse and worse for your opponent. Once Sword of War and Peace hits you, the earlier the better. I mean, you get whacked for friggin', 5 or 6 from a 1-powered thing, and I gain a bunch of life, and they just have to deal with it. And the sweet part is that they have to deal with your 1/1s. Like, they have to start killing your stupid elves because they're the ones that are killing you, and you still get to play your normal cards later. I'm going to play Riftwing Cloudskate here. I like Archangel of Thune. I've really been pretty impressed by it. I generally like Natural Order and Farseek, but again, like Fertile Ground, Farseek, Explorer, we really want elves. We don't want these, rampant growth type effects. But Riftwing Cloudskate's a great addition to the deck. Gives us a little bit, like, again, we're trying to keep our opponent off balance, right? So like Mana War, Kira, Venser, Tradewind Rider, Riftwing Cloudskate. These things are all just really annoying cards for our opponent. All right, great pack for us here. We're going to get something on the wheel that we want. We're either going to get 2 elves out of this pack, or we're guaranteed to get 2 elves out of this pack. There's just no way that all 4 of these cards are gone by the time it comes back. I'm going to keep it simple and just take a Fintorn Elves here. And then hopefully we'll get Green Sun Zenith. That would be the nut. But if not, I'll take Boreal Druid, Elves of D Shadow, Yavimaya Coast. I'll take any of those. So that's a really solid pack for us. And I do hope and expect to get an elf or an elf proxy back. And I will take it. And I'll be very happy. Okay, now we can do Survival of the Fitness of the Fittest, or Sakashima's Student. And I believe I like Student here a little bit better. Survival's pretty decent in a deck like this. Like, we do have a few types of cards that we can go grab that, you know, kind of interact. We can trade up our elves later for Tradewind Rider or whatever. But I actually like Sakashima's Student a little bit more because, like, check this out. We have Mana War, Venser, and Riftwing Cloudskate. And guess what happens when you start cloning those? It gets kind of stupid. You can do some pretty crazy stuff. Another thing that can happen pretty often is, and this is, I've done this many times. Hopefully we'll get to do it here. So like you Mana War something early in the game just to keep your opponent off balance. Great, no problem. Then what you can do is you can get it back again by using Sakashima Student Ninjutsu, bounce something else if you happen to have another guy out, and then your opponent just never recovers, basically. Willbender, Pelucranos, Neviniral's Disc are our options here. I don't really like Brainstorm. We don't have any shuffle effects of any consequence. Disc is nice, but it really blows up everything that we do. So I think we're going to have to skip on the Disc and go for either Pelucranos or Willbender. And I think I'm just going to go with Willbender. I haven't really been super impressed by Pelucranos in the cube. And I think it's better for us just to have cheaper creatures again for equip purposes. I think I'm just going to take Hinterland Harbor over Blue Elemental Blast. Thornscape Battle Mage is good, but we don't have any splashes at all currently. Exploration sucks. Moment's Peace is only good very narrow decks, and I haven't actually seen that deck. It probably just doesn't exist. So I would be taking a high-powered sideboard card or Mana Fixing, and I'm going to go with Mana Fixing here since we have none. All right, here's Jushi Apprentice, but we're slamming Mold Shambler here. Mold Shambler is a big deal for us for sure. It lets us get out of a lot of situations that are pretty tough to get out of. I don't think any of these are really particularly notable. I guess I'll just take Bloodbraid in case we splash somehow. Gosh, was this that pack? Please don't say this was that pack. Everybody took everything. Let's see. Maybe it was this next pack. God, I don't think it was. Are we one of 100 people in green in this thing? We don't want any of these, so I guess we will just take the Farseek. So somehow, after really being hopeful to wheel some elves, we ended up with Farseek, Frilliground. Oh, here's the pack. All right, sweet. Black. Does black matter at all? No, I'm going to say Burial Druid here. I think that's fine. Normally I would take the one with black just in case, but we probably don't need to splash anyway. Take a Student. All right, well, I'll take the Disc now, and I can see situations where we could board it in, and frankly, I'm kind of glad that we don't have to face it down. Like, it's pretty good against us. So what does this deck need? Any more elves would be good. Any bump in power, like if we opened an opposition here, that would be absolutely insane. Some big fatties, and then we need some counters. We really need some high-quality counter spells here as well. We don't find it here, but we find some nice stuff. We find Thran Dynamo, Vesuvian Shapeshifter, Thragtusk, Flash Freeze. I'm going to take Thragfather here, actually. I think he's really, really good in the cube. And since we've already got a Sakashima Student, and there's a chance we get Shapeshifter back, I think that Thragtusk just does serious work. If you end up in a situation where somebody's trying to beat you down, Thragtusk is absurd. Like, you play it, it stabilizes your board, and we have some insane interactions too. Like, we can Mana War our own Thragtusk back, make a token, replay it, and just bury our opponent that's on that plan. So I like that quite a bit. I think that's really good. So Strangleroot Geist or Borderland Ranger or Breeding Pool. I don't think I'm going to take Breeding Pool. I'm not going to take Serum Visions. You know, I think I'm just going to take Borderland Ranger here. I mean, I don't, you know, I'm not in love with Borderland Ranger in the cube, but we do have some bigger spells that we're going to want to hit our land drops for. And again, incidental bodies in our deck are going to be absolutely great. That's also true of the Strangleroot Geist, especially because we can, like, Skull Clamp him, draw 2 cards, get him back, you know, and get value that way. But I still think this is better. Hello. I will be taking Sylvan Library out of this pack. I like Augur of Bolas a bit, but it's not very good in our deck. Like, what does it even hit? I don't know that we're even playing either of these. It'll hit Call of the Herd. Nothing. Yeah, we're just a heavy creature-based deck. So I'm going to take Sylvan Library. You can just grind people out with that card. Goes nice with Thragtusk too. We can spend a little bit of life earlier if we know we're going to get it back later. Upheaval. Birthing Pod's actually interesting. Let's see. We've got 3 1s. Only 1/2 drop. Yeah, that's going to be a deal breaker. Otherwise, we can go 3 to 4 to 5 pretty consistently. I think I'm just going to take Upheaval here, though. There's really not much for us anyway. And, just it's an incredibly powerful card that we can take some advantage of. I mean, if we had taken the, what's it called? The Thran Dynamo, I would feel quite a bit better about Upheaval. As it stands, though, these elves are kind of our main way to get way ahead on mana. And that's fine, but not great. Okay, Moloku, Harmonize, Wood Elves, Search, or Stunted Growth, or Show and Tell. A lot of good options here. Do we have card draw yet? Usually when you're in blue, you end up with some, but it looks like we don't really have any consistent way to draw cards, so Harmonize would be nice. I don't think I can pass a Moloku here, though. I mean, Moloku plus Skull Clamp is just sort of like we can draw our whole deck. Wood Elves is great with these cards as well. It gets you up to the mana that you want and then leaves the body behind. It's a lot like Borderland Ranger. But I'm going to take Moloku just on power level here. I don't know if this is going to make the deck or not yet. Still no counters for us, so I'll take a Spell Pierce. Wake Thrasher's not doing anything abusive in this deck. It's just fine. Somehow we get like every single one of these type effects that I was talking about earlier. How the heck did that happen? Guess we'll just take it. I mean, these things aren't bad. We certainly don't need this many of them. So I guess we'd only play Rampant Growth, and probably just that one if we are. It's much better if you're fixing your mana as well. All right, I like Scavenging Ooze a lot. I like it better than Simic Sky Swallower in a deck like this. Scavenging Ooze is just a really potent 2-drop that carries equipment well and that can get really out of hand later in the game. So I think that's a fine pickup. Again, we didn't really hit like the big power level that we want here. Yeah, Flash Freeze is good. That's a solid sideboard card as well. Spell Pierce, unsure if it's going to make the main. It's pretty good. Little narrow, but pretty good. There's a lot of X spells in the cube. I don't think we need Palancron. We're not really abusing it. Probably not Wolfie or Silverhearting. I think that when it comes to creature augmentation, we're really relying on our equipment. I'm probably not calling the Herd either. All right, so we got both Strangleroot Geist and Breeding Pool back. I mean, I like Geist as much as the next person, but I'm just going to Breeding Pool here. I love having double fixing like that, and I think we kind of just need it. Purphoros. Wow, Purphoros is an interesting splash, actually. We have so many creatures, and we're going to be making them. I guess I can't really take it. I mean, Firebolt actually kills stuff that we care about, but if I had fixing, I might do that. Might have done that. Take a Pride Mage. Pride Mage blows up a bunch of the stuff that we don't want to have blown up. I can take Mountain Valley to get Breeding Pool, or I can take Stunted Growth, which I don't think we'll probably be running. I'll take the Valley. I don't think we're going to run that either, though, to be honest. Holy crap, Mark of Mutinies in this cube? Could have never had anybody play that against me. Yep, so I want to try to keep this deck lean and mean. I'm not going to go for anything big or flashy, I don't think. Druid, Elves, Tree Speaker, Ooze Library. Growth probably makes the cut. This does 2 damage. So we do actually have a bit of a red splash here if we want it. Yeah, I think this is a Troll Ascetic deck, though. If there ever was one. Wolfer Silverheart, maybe. That's still on the block. It might make the cut. I think it's probably going to end up being better for us just to run smaller, cheaper creatures that will wear this equipment just as well. I mean, putting in equipment on a Wolfer Silverheart's a bit redundant. Willbender, Manowar, Kira, Rider, Student, Cloudskate. All right, so this puts us at 21. Still don't want Delver, right? These are... Yeah, there's just... What do we have? 1 or 2 actual spells. So that guy's not flipping over anytime soon. So Call of the Herd is an option, though we're pretty good on creatures as it sits, I think. So I think I want to run like a Spell Pierce. Just to try to get people, which I think is meh. And then probably just like this Maze of Ith. You know, it's interesting. I wonder if I cut Maze of Ith and bring it in if I see that it's going to be particularly good in a matchup. Because I really do just want to curve out with this deck and just play stuff every turn and kind of keep the momentum going. Yeah, I'll try the Silverheart actually. Card's very potent. It really is. I don't think I want Mountain Valley. I think our mana is probably pretty good as it sits. I think just having like no interest battlefield tap lands is a lot better. All right, so this thing says 7, 8, which would give us 7, 8, 9, and then 8, 9, 10. But I think we actually want to swap out one of these for this. 10, 10, 9. Yeah, that looks good. We really need to be able to hit these early green creatures. All right, so let's see what this deck can do. It's got some high power level. It's a little bit fair for my taste, but we'll see.